Hello, Miss Hurst here, and today we're going to make fish cakes with a side of beans and carrots. The equipment we are using today are 3 baking trays, greaseproof paper, 2 large plates, a large bowl, 2 saucepans with a lid, potato masher, spatula, tin opener, sharp knife, chopping board, a fork, a peeler and a colander. You may wish to watch the video first, as you might like to swap the trays for large plates, and if you are making 2 types of fish cakes, 2 different types of fish, you may wish to use 2 bowls as well. The ingredients you will need to serve 4 people are 4 potatoes. You can use normal baking potatoes, sweet potatoes, or a mix of them both like we are today. Around 100 grams of plain flour. You do not need to measure this, as we will be putting it on a plate to dip our fish cakes in. 2 tins of fish. This can be any type of fish, tuna or salmon. We're using both of those today. 1 egg. Breadcrumbs, around 100 grams. Again, you do not need to measure this. You can buy breadcrumbs. We recommend buying natural, not golden, due to the additives to make it the golden colour. Not that healthy for you. You can make your own breadcrumbs. Cheap bread is the best way of doing this, maybe slightly stale. You put it in a food processor and whiz it up. Spray oil. If you don't have spray oil, you can use normal oil and a pastry brush to brush on. Some butter for the mashed potato, and lemon juice is optional. We also are using carrots and green beans. Preheat your oven to 200 degrees. The first step is for you to peel your potatoes. Once peeled, you need to chop your potatoes ready to make mashed potato. We are going to put our sweet potato and baking potato into the same saucepan, so we need the sweet potato to be cut into larger pieces as it cooks quicker. Sweet potato also need the top and bottom removed. Make sure you are chopping safely using the bridge and claw grips. Once in the saucepan, add a pinch of salt and top with water just above the potatoes. Add the lid and onto a high heat to boil. Whilst waiting for the potatoes to boil, we can prepare the table for making fish cakes. Start by opening your tins of fish. Use a tin opener to remove the lid. Careful, it will be very sharp. And then you can drain into the sink with a sieve. Another way is by using your tin opener, but do not remove the lid completely. You can then push the lid down and tip into the sink without the need of a sieve. If you are choosing to use salmon, the tins quite often contain skin and sometimes some bones. If you tip out on a chopping board, you can pick over and remove this skin carefully. Leave your fish to one side, either in a bowl or on a chopping board, ready to use later. Next, crack your egg onto one of the large plates and using a fork, mix the yolk and white together. Tip some plain flour onto the other large plate. You don't need a lot, and you can always add to it later if you need to. Then tip your breadcrumbs onto a tray. You could use a plate instead of a tray if you wish. Make sure you've got enough space to set up a production line. You will go from flour to eggs to breadcrumbs and then onto the baking tray. Check on your potatoes in the boiling water. You can use a knife and see if it passes through easily. If it does, they're cooked and ready to drain. They may need another 5 minutes, so move on to the next step and come back to them. We are going to cut our carrot into small strips. This is called julienne. By making them the same size as the green beans, it means they can cook in the same saucepan. Start by cutting the carrot in half and then slicing. You can then turn on its side and using the claw grip, cut into small strips. The green beans just need the top and bottom cut off. This is also known as top and tail. Save your prepared vegetables on the chopping board to cook later. Check back on your boiling potatoes. By now they should be soft and the knife should pass straight through. Drain in a colander in the sink and then put straight back in the saucepan. Add a slice of butter and put the lid back on. Leave for a minute or so to wait for the butter to melt before you take over to your work surface and using a potato masher, mash the potatoes. Once mashed, swap to a spatula and mix around vigorously to make the mashed potato nice and smooth. Transfer to a mixing bowl. You may need to leave a couple of minutes for the potato to cool down as it is too hot to handle right now. Use a fork to break up your fish. We are going to be using half the mashed potato to make tuna fish cakes and half to make salmon fish cakes. We therefore have 2 large bowls. Once your potato has cooled enough, you need to mix it with your fish, whether that's 2 bowls, 3 bowls or more. Use a fork to mix it together thoroughly. Now you can add optional seasoning. We're putting lemon juice in both. You can add salt and pepper or other herbs and spices of your choice. You are going to mould the fish cakes using your hands. Make sure you wash them first for good hygiene. Split the mixture in the bowl into the quantity you are going to make. We are going to make 4 tuna fish cakes out of this quantity. Mould into a ball and then flatten on the greaseproof paper. Spray your baking tray thoroughly with oil. To make the breadcrumb coating, you are going to take each fish cake along the production line of plates. You need to choose a wet hand and a dry hand. Mrs. Goodwin has chosen her left hand to be the dry hand, so the fish cake goes into the dry flour mixture using her left hand, then into the wet egg mixture and her right hand takes over. After the egg mixture is thoroughly coated, then into the dry breadcrumbs and her left hand will take over again. Once coated in breadcrumbs, put the fish cake onto the greased baking tray ready to cook. Once all the fish cakes have been made, the ingredients on the plates must be thrown away as it has been contaminated with raw egg. The flour, egg and breadcrumbs must go in the bin. Once all your fish cakes are made, spray the tops with oil and they're ready to go in the oven for 10 minutes, turning halfway through. Put a saucepan of water on a high heat to boil, ready to cook your carrots and beans. Add a lid to the saucepan to get the water to boil in quicker. After 5 minutes in the oven, turn your fish cakes over. Careful, they will be hot. Add some more spray oil to the tops and then back in the oven for the remaining 5 minutes. Once the saucepan of water is boiling, add your beans and carrots. Once your fish cakes have been in the oven for 10 minutes, they should be nice and golden and ready to serve. Once your fish cakes are out, your beans and carrots are ready to drain. We have not cooked ours for very long as we wanted them to still have a bit of crunch. Drain in the colander into the sink and then straight onto a plate served with your fish cakes. An optional extra is to add some sweet chilli sauce as a dip.